Hey, what's good, everyone? We out here, baby. We out here in Vegas. I'm out here in Resorts World playing 1-2 no limit poker. Max buy-in's $400. If you watched my last vlog, my goal was to do one poker vlog in all 50 states. And you already know the first state, we gotta go Vegas. But wish me luck.
I belong to you.
I belong to you.
Do just what you want.
Today, I go play 1-3 no limit at Resorts World for my birthday week. I buy in for the max $400. I get my chips and head to the table. Starting off the session, we're on the button, and you know you got straddle being the first hand in Vegas, baby. The cutoff raises to $15. I look down at King 5 diamonds, and only I make the call, and we go heads up to a flop. The flop is Ace Queen 8 with 2 hearts. I don't have much here. The cutoff checks, and I bet $21. 21. Come on, we're in Vegas. Blackjack, baby. I'm just trying to represent Ace, and my opponent quickly makes the call. The turn is the 4 diamonds. Now give me a backdoor flush draw. He checks it over me again, and this time, I bet $40 because now we got more equity, and he quickly makes the call again. I'm putting him on a hand like King Queen, Queen 10, maybe a weak ace. The river is the Jack of Spades, and I miss my flush draw. He checks it over me for a 3rd time. Well, can't win with just King High, so I bet $100, and my opponent thinks it over for a minute before making the fold. Whew, glad I got this little bluff through. I did not want to lose half my stack my first hand in Vegas. Alright, let's go. Almost a whole orbit goes around, and there's a $6 straddle on the button. They do their straddles a little different here in Vegas compared to Portland. In Portland, when there's a button straddle, the small blind is first to act, but here in that Resorts World, first action's under the gun. So here, under the gun raises it to $20. 3 players call, and then I look down at pocket 5s to make the call, and we go 5 ways to a flop. The flop is 5-10 deuce all offsuit, and I flop middle set. Hey, okay. Even better when the small blind leads out for $45. With a few players behind me, and no real draws or scared cards out there, I just make the flat call because I want to reel some players in. Only under the gun calls, and we go 3 ways to a turn. The turn is a 3 of spades. Still doesn't change much. It's kinda hard to put someone on 6-4 for a straight, maybe ace-4, but can't be afraid of monsters on the bed, right? This time, the small blind checks, and when action's on me, I don't want this checking through, so I bet $70, but unfortunately, both players quickly fold. Dang, I was hoping to get paid with my set, but we take down a decent sized pot. I'll definitely take it. This next hand, I look down at deuce 8 of spades under the gun and open up to $16. Only the big blind calls and go heads up to a flop. The flop is 7 deuce 4 with 2 clubs, and I got a pair of deuces. This hand shouldn't be hitting my opponent's calling range very often, so I should have the best hand, for now. So when the big blind checks, I bet $15. He calls, and the turn is the 6 of spades, now giving me a gutter ball and I need a 5 for a straight. He checks, and I decide to check back being in position. I would hate to get check raised here. The river is the 5 of clubs, now giving me a straight. It does bring in the front door flush though, but I feel like if he had a flush, he would have raised me on the flop or even bet out on the turn. This time, he leads out for $65. Not what I wanted to see, but I can't fold here. If you got it, you got it. I make the quick call, and my opponent shows 10-6 of clubs for a river flush. Nice hand. Can't even be mad. I mean, he got there on the turn and was already beating me. He didn't even need the river. Alright, moving on. The very next hand, under gun opens up to $15. 2 players call, and I look down at 4-5 offsuit. Whew, a natural 9, baby. Definitely not folding. I make the call, and we go 4 ways to a flop. The flop is a fun one. 6-8-7 with 2 clubs, and I flop an up and down straight draw. Action checks to C2, and he bets out $40. With about a pot-sized bet, he's pretty much saying he has a strong ace. The small blind calls, and I'm not going anywhere. I make the call, and we go 3 ways to a turn. The turn is a 10 of diamonds. The small blind checks. I check, curious to see if seat 2 is gonna keep up his aggression, but he checks back. Thank goodness. Who doesn't love to see a free river card when you're on a draw? See you on the river. The river is the 6 of diamonds, and I break my straight draw. The small blind checks, and since seat 2 checked the turn, I think he was on a flush draw. Anywho, I can't win with 5 high. Actually, I don't even have 5 high. I play the board. So I bet $100 and both players quickly fold. Yes, got another bluff through. I showed a bluff to try to get some more action on this table. This table is kinda tight, not gonna lie. But hey, there was no way I was gonna lose with a natural 9. Ayah, let's go baby. Alright, hand of the night. There's a $6 straddle under the gun. The small blind calls, and then I look down at queen 5 of clubs. I make the call as well, and then under the gun raises it to $18. We both make the call, and we go 3 ways to a flop. The flop is 6 jack 8 with 2 clubs, and I got a flush draw. Action checks to the pre-flop raiser, and under the gun bets $45. The small blind folds, and I'm not going nowhere with my draw. I make the call, and we go heads up to a turn. The turn is a fun one. The 9 of hearts now give me a double gutter for a straight. I need a 7 or a 10 along with my flush draw. I have 15 outs I can hit on the river, and I should be good. I check, and my opponent bets $120. Pretty hefty bet. He's pretty much saying he has an overpair like kings or aces, maybe a set of jacks. I look over his stack, and he has about $250 behind. I tank for about a minute and a half, as I'm never folding here. I'm just debating if I want to go all in or not. Maybe I could represent a hand like queen 10 for a straight, as I do have a queen for a blocker. I didn't think this player was going to fold if I push, so I decided to just make the flat call and see a river card. So before we go to a river, I do want to say this. One of the main reasons why I didn't push on the turn is because after tanking for about a minute to a minute and a half, I felt like my opponent had a live read on me, as he was like eyeballing me like a hawk. I felt like he knew I was on a draw, but I do want to ask for some advice. If you think a hand over for about a minute or a minute and a half on a draw heavy board like this, do I need to be a lot quicker with my decision, like 30 seconds, to seem like I have a stronger hand than what I really have? Or is that just an obvious tell that I'm on a draw if I'm thinking for so long? Comment down below on how do you guys deal with live reads when people are tank calling after about a minute or two against you. Because I always feel like after I tank for a minute or two before I make a call, it seems like I make it way too obvious I'm on a draw. The river is a 6 of spades, and I break all 15 outs. Damn. Man. Well, first action's on me, and well, I can't win with queen high. So I rip it all in for $237, and my opponent snap calls. That's never a good sign. I show my cards, and my opponent shows pocket kings, and I double them up. This was a bad all-in by me, as the only hand I could really represent here is pocket 6s or pocket 8s. Maybe pocket 9s, because I just limp called in pre-flop, and the 6 on the river counterfeits all 2-pair combinations. Either way, nice call by him, but ado meh. I did ask my opponent after if I raised all in on the turn, if he would fold or not, and he said no because he was too pot committed and he was never folding. The very next hand, this time I'm on the button. The cutoff raises to $15, and I look down at 7-9 spades, and only I make the call. We go heads up to flop, which is deuce 6-8 with 2 hearts, and I flop an up and down straight draw. He leads out for $25, which is about a pot size bet. Maybe he has pocket kings. Sheesh. I make the call. No need to raise here being in position. The turn is another interesting one. The 3 of spades now give me a backdoor flush draw. He leads out again, this time for $75. Man, this is the same position I was in the last hand. Deja vu for reals. He seems pretty strong, double barreling with a hefty bet, but I'm not going anywhere. I think I could go either way with flat calling here being in position, or even raising with so much equity. Either play here is fine in my opinion, but with this board, I don't think an overpair is ever folding here. So I just make the call and we go to a river. The river is the 5 of hearts, river my straight. Let's go. But it does bring in the front door flush. This time my opponent checks over me, and he does have pocket kings. I'm gonna try to get some value here. I didn't want to bet too big to scare off any overpairs, so I bet $41, and my opponent snap folds. Alright, didn't want to even think about it, huh? I guess he didn't really have much. There's nothing prettier than suited connectors. I look down at 6-7 clubs and raise it to $16. Only one player calls, and we go heads up to a flop. The flop is 9 king jack with 2 clubs, and I flop a flush draw. He checks it over me, and I bet $15 with my draw. He makes the call, and we go to a turn. The turn is a deuce of diamonds, and he checks it over me again. I think I make the mistake here when I check back. I need to be double barreling here with my draw, in case I miss my flush draw on the river. And I was a pre-flop raiser, and this board does hit my range. But no need to worry here, as the river pairs the board with a deuce of clubs, now giving me my flush. He checks it over for a third time, and I bet $40, and he snap calls. I show my flush, and we're good. My opponent doesn't show, but he told me he had top 2 pair. In this one, a few players limp in, and then I finally look down at a premium. Pocket kings, baby. I raise it to $21. You already know why. 21. And 2 players call, and we go 3 ways to a flop. The flop is 7-5-5 with 2 spades. Not too bad. Action checks to me, and I c-bet for $15, and both players quickly make the call. The turn is a 7 of hearts, which is actually not too bad. I don't see very many combinations of hands that my opponents can have here. Maybe ace-5 suited, ace-7, 4-5, 7-8, or deuce-7 that are sickle like me. Pretty much what I'm trying to say is, they shouldn't have a 5 or 7 in their range. Action checks to me, and I decide to check to see what happens on the river. I'm really hoping no one leads out with a big bet. Action checks through, and the river is a 5 of clubs, and now there's a full house on the board. So any 5 or 7 beats my bigger full house. C6 leads out for $10, which looks like a blocker bet. I didn't raise it to 30, but now looking back, I definitely should have sized out to about 60 to 80, maybe even $100 to make it look like a bluff, as we all should just be playing the board here. I should have raised bigger to try and make it look like I was trying to steal a pot, because there shouldn't be a 7 or 5 in my range. And if someone did raise me, then I can make the fold. Actually, let me take that back, because if you've been watching my vlogs, I don't ever fold even when I know I'm beat. The button calls, we short kings, and we're good, and we take down the pot. Last interesting hand of night, and I look down at deuce 7 of clubs and raise it to $15. No, we're not playing the deuce 7 game, but I always like to play this game just for myself. 2 players call, and we go 3 ways to a flop. The flop is jack king king all off suit. I check as if I had a hand like ace king or king queen, as I would check this flop majority of times if I did have those kind of hands. Action checks through, and the turn is the 8 of spades. This time when action checks to me, I bet $15, and only one player makes the call. Heads up to a river, which is the ace of hearts. As I just play the board here, I bet $40, and my opponent stares straight at me, looks right into my soul. He then counts up $40 and stacks it up. But then ends up folding. Oof, thank goodness. And just like that, I rack up my chips and call it a night with my first poker vlog in Vegas. Let's go, baby! Alright, just got done with the session. First poker vlog session in Vegas. About time. I'm out here in Resorts World. Came up with a small W tonight. I was in for the game for 400, out for 610, so up 210 bucks. Nothing too crazy tonight, action-wise, other than me punting with that queen 5 hand on the river, and my opponent snap calls. Was not expecting snap call, but it was a good call by him. Other than that, I think I'm gonna go play at the Wynn tomorrow. So hopefully I can win at the Wynn. I know, everyone says it. But thanks for watching and see you in the river.
Playing all my melodies.